Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Miami Book Hub. I'm your host, Adrian Betancourt, urban planner by day, author and explorer of things by night. Really excited to have you back. This is now episode 10, so we've gotten into our double digits, and I could think of no better way to celebrate our first double-digit episode than with a good friend of mine, someone who I've recently come to know, but we hit it off instantly, so I'm going to call you my good friend. Hopefully you're okay with that. Her name is C.V. Shaw. That is her pen name. I'm going to call her Ceci moving forward. Ceci, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on, Jay.
And Ceci, so you and I met through the South Florida Writers Association, the SFWA.
Yes.
Had a couple of your colleagues there on the program already, and I love the organization. I'm now a part of it. But you're also an author in your own right. So the book that is out and displayed here in front of you and behind me is The Spell. That was published how long ago now?
It was published in 2020,
okay.
And there's a second edition in 2024.
Excellent. So it's been a big hit. I understand you were just in, is it BookCon?
BookCon.
In New York City,
yes.
And sold out. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So what is The Spell?
The Spell is a story about a curse that falls upon a royal family, and the embittered queen she hires all kinds of witches and seers in an attempt to undo the spell.
Okay.
But in that process, she just creates more chaos. And as the princess grows up, because she's the most affected, she attempts to undo the spell herself, seeing that her mother was not successful, and that creates even further chaos. So this is more like a fable trying to get a message across. Okay. There's a message here in the story. The story was written around a message, which, it's at the end, so don't skip there. But yeah, there's a very important message for all the readers within the story, which I won't say what it is, but that's what it's about. It's about spells, and it's about belief systems, on a deeper level.
And if I understand it correctly, it actually started off as a poem.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I'm also a poet as well. And
you've been writing poetry all your life.
All my life, since I was a little girl. And it did start out, but it kept going. It started off as a poem, and it just kept going and going. And I'm like, oh,
there's something here.
Yeah. I think this can turn into a short story. Yeah. And, then it was, this is way too long for a short story. I think there's, something more here. And that was that message I was trying to get through. So, 7 months later, I had a novel.
7 months? That's pretty
7 months. That's, 7 months to write it and about 3 years to edit it.
Yeah. Okay. I know how that goes.
Yeah. That's the grueling process, especially because I hand wrote it, and trying to read it back was also a process.
Wow. Handwriting.
Yeah.
That's courageous.
I know, but that connection with the pen and the paper sometimes, being able to, go with it quicker.
Call it pen and suffering.
Yes, exactly. But that's the first and last time I'll do that.
Yeah.
Unless it's a short poem.
Not very efficient.
Well, that's what happened. It started as a poem. So poems are shorter. So that's
true.
I didn't mind that, but then it just kept going, but no.
Okay. So it started as a poem, turned into a short story, which turned into an actual novel.
Yes.
So does it have more legs to go? Is this the first volume in a series, or is this a one and done?
It could. Well, hopefully it'll be a film.
Okay.
I've got those type of plans in mind. And after I published it, it was meant to be, just, one book. But after readers have asked me, I would like to see a prequel and a sequel.
Yeah.
I want to know more about this character. A lot of the readers fell in love. They were enamored with a specific character called John Doerr, and others with Beth Lynn. But John Doerr, everybody loved. And there's a backstory in the middle of the book about John Doerr's life, and the readers just loved it, and they loved him. I mean, he's such a character. So they've requested, would you do a prequel and a sequel? So I've thought about it, and I've got it outlined. So I think I will. So
I find the creation of characters by an author to be an interesting kind of field of study. So why do authors create certain characters? Are there bits of themselves in those characters? Are they going through some kind of therapeutic exercise, exercising demons through their characters? So I'm curious about your character development in your books. I mean, you said your readers have fallen in love with certain of characters, which means they have depth.
They do.
And so tell me about your characters and what inspired them.
Well, I do believe that all the characters, just like people in our environment, are reflections of ourselves, and we are trying to heal through them. And that's, I think our subconscious is the one that's talking to us when we build characters. But I think that I also pulled from real people that I knew because it helps you sort of like define them a little bit better. But the main aspect of the character, I think, is a reflection of ourselves that we're trying to heal. So, but it does help bring more depth to a character when you sort of like, associate it with somebody I found that anyway.
Do those people that you based it on know it's them when they read it? Like, hey, is that me? And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I didn't actually base it on them. I just pulled from their character and from, even some of their physical traits. I would say, well, one of them is not on this side anymore. They're on the other side. But one of them, yes, she did. No, she did recognize herself. In other words.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yes. So.
And let's see. So this is your first published book, but I know you're working on a few others.
I am.
So tell us about some of those. One is Painted Rose, I believe.
The Painted Rose, I've written that novel. It is complete. And, just hoping for the ideal publishing team to come along. And that is an Alice in Wonderland retelling set in the 60s. And it follows a story, Lewis Carroll's story, but it also follows a real life story of Alice and Lewis Carroll, because, Alice was a real person and he was a family photographer and she was his muse. And she's in a mental hospital in my novel, and it's got a Girl Interrupted vibe as well.
Oh,
and
cool.
And that again,
sounds
also
trippy.
It is trippy. And there is a scene where she does trip. But again, that I like to write with a message, and the message in there is about neurodivergent people, not just children, but people, and how they're labeled, how they're quick to be labeled, and given medications, to which I'm not saying I have anything against medications or anything like that, but the fact that I think that they're not being seen at a deeper level. They're not being seen at the psyche level and what they bring. I mean, there's just on a higher consciousness level, there's more to look at with people who are labeled neurodivergent, right?
They're just vibrating at a different frequency.
Absolutely. And
maybe a higher frequency than we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the message I bring out in the story.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then a third book, which I believe you've already completed, is a children's book.
Children's book.
You're very diverse in the types of things you're writing about. So that's great.
Yes. That's Jimby's Adventures, or Jimby Goes Out. Jimby Goes to Outer Space. Cover. Yes. Thank you. And
very appropriate timing, by the way, because, now with the new moon missions and Artemis and everything, I think there's a renewed interest in outer space. So
absolutely. Timing. Yes. Yeah. And the cover is great. This is my illustrator, Karen Taylor, which also did the cover for The Spell, by the way. And she's amazing. Yeah. And this is to teach kids about the planets, which I think is important. Even Pluto's in there. I know we don't consider Pluto a planet anymore.
Depends on who you ask these days. Yeah.
Right. So I included Pluto in there just in case. But it teaches them not just about the planets, but a little bit something special about the planets. How many moons they have, or if it's closer to the sun, if it's an ice giant, that type of stuff, so that the kids can learn. And then in the book, I also associate the planet and what it looks like to Jimby, so that the kids can associate it. Like Jupiter looks like a cupcake, caramel cupcake with a cherry on top, because it's got a red spot on it. So just so that they can associate. And then at the end of the book, there's like a little matching.
And what inspired you to write this?
I'm not sure where I love to stargaze, and I love, everything cosmic and planetary. So it must have come from that. But Jimby was actually a stuffed animal that I bought for my oldest son in the 90s. And he had scrubs on because I worked at the hospital back then when I did physical therapy. And his name was Jimby, and we still have it. I mean, my son is, I'm going to really age myself here, but my son is 30, my son is 36. He's 36. Yeah. And we still have that monkey. Yeah. And he's still around. He's like the only stuffed
Every
animal.
kid has that one stuffed animal that they've kept forever.
Yeah.
Right? There's that one special one. So that was Jimby. That was his name?
That's Jimby. And I still have him because I don't want them to throw it away. Not either of my kids to throw it away. So I saw him. And that's who I wrote it after, but I don't know where the idea of the planets came in. That was just like an inspiration that I had.
Is it purely scientific, or do you get into like astrology and
No.
the meanings behind the planet?
No. Just purely scientific.
That'll be volume 2.
Yeah, that's for the adults or the young adults. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jimbo goes to not Jimbo. Jimby goes to what do they call them? The card readers?
The tarot.
The tarot. Jimbo's
tarot adventures. Yeah.
That's awesome. So now you mentioned a couple of times, I think this is something you do in addition to your daytime profession.
Yes.
You are a doctor of Oriental medicine and quantum energy practitioner. Did I say that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what does all that entail?
All right. So doctor of Oriental medicine, acupuncture and Oriental medicine, that's Chinese medicine based. And that is Eastern philosophy when it comes to diagnosing and treating. And I have my doctorate in Chinese medicine. But what a lot of people don't understand is that we have to understand Western medicine in order to, treat with Eastern medicine, right? Because our patients are not going to come in and say, I have liver yang deficiency, which is a Chinese medicine diagnosis. They're going to, come in and, for example, say, I have high blood pressure, which will be, like a liver yang rising type of a situation. So we have to understand Western medicine. We have to know all the pharmacology because, again, they're going to come in. We have to know what medicines they're taking in order to know what we can prescribe in the Chinese or Eastern sense. And a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, oh, that's really, you guys, are not real doctors. We're actually considered primary physicians in Florida. Yeah. So it's, it's a beautiful career. I love that. I love it. To me, it's an art, right? Because it's, going deeper into the energetic channels and the meridians of our system, which is what everything is based on, and make sure that there aren't any traffic jams, and same thing with quantum energy medicine. It's just, tapping into the energetic system of the body and clearing, wherever there's any energy could be stuck, or if there's not enough energy, supplementing that area with energy, moving the energy into the area so that we can be in balance. As optimal.
I would imagine that background and that knowledge and that practice somehow makes it into your writing. How does that inspire? It
does. And actually in the spell, because part of the Chinese medicine is herbal. We have to study a lot of herbal, and we have to take one of the 4 board examinations is an herbal examination. So we had to learn a lot of herbs. Plus I was raised being treated by herbs. If we had a stomach ache, go find the herb. If we had a throat ache, go get the romerio. It's I learned that I grew up like that. That tradition, is very special to me. And so I brought that into the spell because the princess actually learns to heal with herbs. And that's one of the main things is her going into an enchanted forest to find the herbs that are needed to treat her mother at one point. And the issue that ensues from that, and I won't give any spoilers, but I use herbs in that sense. I also use herbs from the witches and the seers that use them as potions. And I describe and explain like what the herbs actually mean and what they actually do. Like it's true. It's not the herbal part of the book is not made up. It's real. So.
All right. So I'm getting over a cold. What herbs should I be on right now?
It depends.
It really depends, right?
You would we would look at your tongue. We would take your pulse on both wrists and see what you have if you're deficient. Because you could have a cold because you're deficient. You could have a cold because you have excess heat or cold. So that's the beauty of Chinese medicine is that every single person is different. Not one person has the same pattern. So we treat you individually.
I'll make an appointment after. Yeah. So let's see. Let's get back to the spell for a second.
Sure.
So this is what I would consider a world building novel, right? It's fantasy. And so everything in it had to be built in your imagination.
Yes.
And yet I imagine you also pulled from history because this takes place in, was it the 15th or 16th century?
16th century.
In England.
1800s, yes.
So did you do a lot of research into that, or did you just kind of create a whole new world that you imagined?
Well, if there's a map in the book, and it's the map of England itself. Mm-hmm. However, the cities I did create, those cities they don't exist in England. They only exist in my head. But they're the map of England, the England itself, the country, it was based on the country. A lot of research. Absolutely. I had to do a lot of research just so it could be as close as possible to, where the waters are, and the different aspects of the country.
What people wore at that time, I would imagine.
Absolutely. What they wore. I had to, do a lot of research on what they wore, how they spoke, what was, the wheelchairs. Did they have wheelchairs back then, or what did they use? Because one of the characters is in a chair.
Okay.
So everything had to be like very specific. Were there pipes? What did they use? Yeah, a lot of research went in there. Even, how they spoke the language and things of that nature, what they ate.
Yeah, I don't know why. As I think about your book, and I haven't read it to be honest, but I think about Game of Thrones. Like that's what I'm picturing is that kind of world.
Yeah.
Are there dragons and things?
There aren't any dragons.
No mystical creatures.
No mystical. Just the seers and the witches.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. We already talked about kind of what inspired you to write it. What author in general are you inspired by, or authors? I imagine there are at least. It's hard to choose, right? It's like choosing between your children.
Right.
But there must be 1, 2, or 3 that you feel inspired you to write, or that you enjoy going back to for inspiration.
My favorite author of all times is Edgar Allan Poe, which I've got on my shirt. And he, honestly, I think that he is like just my number one.
He's very special.
Yes. Yeah. Shakespeare is, absolutely like just that whole, old English.
Sure.
His stories and the stories, not just like when it was written at the time, but Edgar Allan Poe, Shakespeare. And then I have to say that one of the most recent authors that, not so much that I take my inspiration from, but I love because he inspires me as an author, is Matt Haig.
Okay.
Yeah. And I just finished his book, The Life Impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Midnight Libraries I'm going to be reading that next. And they're actually making a movie of Midnight Library. So, yeah. But Edgar Allan Poe and Shakespeare, honestly, are like the classics.
All right.
Yeah.
So even harder question. You're stuck on an island. You only have one book you can take with you. And it can't be an anthology of lots of books, okay? There's no cheating. You have to pick one book. What is it going to be?
Honestly, I would take Edgar Allan Poe's collections.
Yeah.
The collection of all his short stories.
See, that's cheating. You can't take the collection.
Oh.
One.
Okay, because his is really more short stories. I would probably take a book, not a short story, right?
Sure.
A book, a book or a story? What did you ask?
Go with a book.
Okay, we'll go with a book. Because I need a book. A short story is how long am I going to be stranded? I think a book. It would have to be a big book. Honestly, I think I would take. Oh, that's a tough question. That's really a tough question. You're going to laugh at this, but I'd take the Bible.
There you go.
Stuck in if I was stuck. And there's so much symbolism. There's so much to decipher, even in just one. It's
lots of books in one, right?
Yeah. I would actually take the Bible. The Book of Job is one of my favorites. I should have said that as an inspiration. The Book of Job is one of my favorite, books in the Bible.
Okay. So the book I would take is a book on surviving on an island. I think how to survive alone on an island with nothing but coconuts.
That's smart. I'd be living on a prayer.
Living on a prayer. So I also know you're into music.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you write music, but I know you incorporate it into your works. Can you tell us about that? Where does that passion come from?
I do. I do love music, and my kids are musicians. My older son's a sound engineer and a musician as well. And, music is very, very special.
Mm-hmm.
It has always been in our household. And in Alice, I do bring in a lot of music, mostly Beatles and Doors and,
all the good stuff.
Yeah. Alice. And I write it in like what they're singing aloud because it's just, I think it brings some extra character to the story. And I'm actually working on a short story collection of the Beatles. And this is writing from the perspective of the women in their songs. So yeah, I've written Ellie.
So Yoko makes an appearance at some point.
Yoko, no, she's not. Because that wasn't really the Beatles, was it?
That's right. She was kind of post Beatles.
Yeah. So, so the first one that I wrote is based on Eleanor Rigby, and it's called Ellie. And the second one I've written is Lulu. And that's based on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Oh, what fun.
So I'm doing a collection writing from the perspective of the women in their songs. Yeah.
And what inspired you to do that?
I love the Beatles and I love the music. And to me, when I listen to a song, I'm not just listening to like the lyrics or the melody. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want to hear the deeper story. I'm always looking for the deeper story in there, which is why I like to write, whatever I write, whether it's a story or book with, a message in there or something deeper. So yeah, I mean, Eleanor Rigby was, when I did the research, it's simply, they took that name from a ripstone in a cemetery. It was like not such a big deal. They just took the name from somewhere. And there wasn't that much meaning to it because I did research to see what their meaning was. And there wasn't really, it was more superficial. But when I wrote it, it just goes into such a place that it's, and the priest, they talk about the priest, and he has a big part in the story too. So yeah, but I love the songs because I just go deep into a song and I imagine, if they're talking about a character, it's like that character to me is alive now.
Yeah.
And I wonder what she was like. I wonder what she would have to have said. And, and I write about it.
Well, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. And next I plan to do that about some of the stories of Edgar Allan Poe's characters.
Okay.
Not just the women, but,
Do you plan that in writing? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you plan on writing that in his style or kind of in your own style?
I think it's going to be in his style.
Yeah.
Because I do
channel Edgar Allan.
Yes, because
seance or something. Right?
I actually did that the other day for a poem. I don't know if I told you about it. I was entering a poem I think I did I told the other girls. I was entering the poem in a contest and I wasn't sure what to write. And I closed my eyes and, call on him because I feel like his energy is near. And that's something that I teach, a class that I teach, my Mindscape, is how to channel energy, not in a spooky type of way, just in a resonating type of way. And literally just closed my eyes and I could hear him talking. And in 2 minutes, I had that, poem down on paper. And it's quite a long poem. But I could hear it in his voice. So when I want to share it, I don't have somebody just read it. I actually tell them I have to read it for you so that you can hear it how I heard it. So.
Quote Cecilia, nevermore.
Very good. Yes.
I love it.
The Raven, nevermore. Yeah.
And so speaking of Edgar Allan Poe, there's an event in the Keys that's coming up, right? Yes. Or did it already pass?
No, I think it's the 22nd.
It's so cool.
Don't quote me on the date, but I think it's the 22nd. I am considering it. It's in Key West and it's the Edgar Allan Poe Speakeasy. Yeah. I have attended the first one 2 or 3 times in Coral Gables and in Wynwood. Can't remember the other one where it was. And this is now part 2. And it's really, really great because they actually do 4 stories. So this part 2 is 4 different stories. I've already heard the other ones. And they serve a drink for each story, a very strong drink, I may add. But they make it they make it to match the story. Like the Telltale Heart had like an eyeball in it. They made it look like an eyeball in the drink. So it's very cool. Like it's so special. And the ones that are saying the story, like they know the story by heart and they're playing it out on stage. And it's just, it's a really amazing.
And it's experiential or are you just observing the whole time?
You're observing.
Does the audience participate?
No. And just cool. In the drinking.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Key West is a little far. I hope it comes to Miami. So
yeah, eventually it will again, I'm sure. But for this year, it looks like it's everywhere else except Miami.
That's cool. So you do a little bit of writing across the spectrum, right? So novels, short stories, poems, children's book, music. But you were also a journalist. Or are?
Well, no, I was. I did write. I did some freelancing. I did work at Florida Medical Business. I was a staff writer and assistant editor. Mm-hmm. I wrote for BizBash. I wrote feature articles for MD News because I also had, my background. I was also a physical therapist way back then. So I had the medical background as well. I wrote for BizBash and Club Systems International. I wrote for the Herald Neighbors, freelance as well. That was way back. And that's when I decided, I really wanted to do creative writing more than just, reporting, so then that's, I diverted.
But it was great training.
It was absolutely. And it was fun. I met a lot of good people. Do
you have a particular writing style or does it change depending on what you're writing? And how do you write? And where? What is your whole process?
My whole process. All right. So my favorite, the spell is written in third person, which was great. But honestly, I think my forte is in first person literary introspective writing. me being the character and being in the character's head, me being the character being me, and writing from that perspective, because I just like to go so deep, and when it comes to the level of perceptions, when there's another character, if you're writing first person, you can't know what that other character's thinking because you're not in third person, you're in first person, but your person can perceive, and could be wrong or could be correct, could be intuitive. I just think it's so much more fun and so much deeper I love literary writing, which is a little bit more difficult when you want to get published, because whoever's like reading the book has to really resonate with what's going on in that character's head, which is a fun part for me. Yeah.
And are you a morning writer, a nighttime writer? Is whenever the mood strikes you, are you very disciplined or just kind of?
I wish I was disciplined. I was disciplined with the spell, and I would write from 11 to 3 every single day, even Sundays. And that's probably why I did it in 7 months. Alice, not so much. I like to write at night when everything is done, just like when I don't have to take care of anything else and my phone's not going to be distracting me, or, anything else is going to be coming up, when I can put everything down so that way I can, because I feel like I'm going into a different world, and I don't want, and I don't want to be interrupted, and I had the experience, my very first novel that I wrote or started writing was when I was in maternity leave with my youngest son. That was 25 years ago. And I haven't finished that one. It's finished in my head, but I haven't finished it. I got it on floppy disk. That's how long ago it was. Disk. Yeah. But I noticed that when I would start writing, it's like my kids would come and it's like, Mom, like, my older one, I'm hungry. And I'm like, oh my God, like I forgot to make dinner. It's like, cause I was so into it. Yeah. So now I like for everything to be done. And then that way I could give all my attention to the writing, to my characters.
That's great. Yeah. So let's, we've got a couple minutes left here. Let's talk about the South Florida Writers Association.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a minute. As I said, I've had a couple folks on and we've talked about it, but for those who may be learning about it for the first time, what is SFWA? And, what are some of the programs or some of the benefits that some may appreciate if they become members?
All right. So the South Florida Writers Association, we're a nonprofit association supporting writers. And we meet at the Pinecrest Library every first Saturday of the month. And it's open to the public. They can come even if they're not members. And that's at 10:30 in the morning, Pinecrest Library. And what we do is we really build a community to help inspire writers and to help writers keep going, because sometimes they get stuck. Mm-hmm. We offer contests, a monthly contest to inspire them for poetry, for fiction, for non-fiction, whatever you want to write, short stories, poems, and memoirs even, again, short stories for contests just to inspire them, because it's, when you win, and as you win.
I did. I was so happy.
Yeah.
I submitted a piece and somehow or another I won.
You did. Well, it was a good piece.
And it was a great feeling.
Right. Exactly. And that feeling is what we're trying to encourage in the writers so that they can keep going. Mm-hmm. And so we offer those contests. We offer an annual writing conference. And this last one, we had a literary agent, we had editors, we had Sean McComber, which is an editor, and he's a writer for New Times and Agua Pinecrest. And I just want to give a shout out to Sean because he's amazing. And you have to meet Sean. And he also edits novels. And so we had a lot of questions for him. Mm-hmm. And we had someone talking about poetry. We had someone talking, UM professor, about book to film. It was an incredible event. We had books and books come out. And so it was really good.
And congratulations, because I understand you were the conference organizer. So.
I was. Yes, I was a bit stressful, but it turned out really nice. And so we offer that also. When it's book fair time, we have a double booth at the Miami Book Fair. And if you're an author, you get to display, one of the days with your book. And we have a lot of readers coming into our booth. Yeah. So that right there in itself is amazing.
If you were to, be blessed with the opportunity to have a booth,
exactly,
there's a cost associated with that.
Yeah.
So through SFWA.
There's no cost. You can,
no cost.
Exactly. You can be there on a Friday, on a Saturday, on a Sunday, all day, half day, however it is. And then it's a few of us authors together. And it's actually a lot of fun because it's a few of us together, but you get your spot and you can set up your props. It's a lot of fun.
And I have to say, it is a fun group. And I felt so welcome by everyone in that organization.
Yes.
Amy and JC, Jasmine.
Yes. Yes.
Giancarlo. It's really, considering authors, I think sometimes have a certain reputation.
Right. Right.
For being, introverts and just kind of wanting to work alone and not being particularly friendly. That's not at all the case. At least not with this group in South Florida.
No, not at all. I think we make it very inviting, and we offer finger foods like patelitos and croquetas and bagels and coffee.
In Miami style.
Yeah, exactly. And we have fun, and we also do readings where one can go up there and you get 5 minutes. You can read a short story or an excerpt or your poetry, and it feels good because we're all writers, we really are listening and we really give you feedback like, oh, that was amazing. And it's an inspiring group of writers on all different levels, traditionally published, self-published, poets, all, children's books. And we really help one another, especially when it comes to like social media. And those who are not knowing, because it's so important, social media now for authors. And we have, a lot of members are from the older generation, and, they're not accustomed to having to, use social media. So, we help with that as well. So
if people want to learn more about SFWA, where should they go?
SouthFloridaWriters.org.
SouthFloridaWriters.org.
Yes.
And more importantly, if they want to learn more about you and your books and or purchase a book, where should they?
Oh, absolutely. So cvshawbooks.com. That's my website, and CV Shaw Books on Instagram as well. My book is on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, anywhere that sells books. You can just put in The Spell by C.V. Shaw. I would recommend putting C.V. Shaw just because there are a lot of spell books out there. When you just put The Spell, it brings up like all these magical books on spells. And wherever books are sold.
That's great. Yeah. Okay, last question.
Sure.
Any advice for the aspiring writer like myself?
Okay, so I heard this the other day that you should never call yourself an aspiring writer. You should just call yourself a writer, because you are a writer. If you've written anything, you are a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And the best advice that I can give you is that what you think readers are not going to want to read because maybe you have like that imposter syndrome going on, there's a reader for every writer. And even though your message may not be intentional, it's supposed to touch at least one person, and there's your purpose. So just keep writing. Yeah. Keep writing.
And by the way, I'm satisfied if that one person it touches is me. Like, honestly.
Absolutely.
Like, I think some of the best art ever created was created for the artist.
Absolutely.
But people like it, great. If not,
right.
Too bad.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great satisfaction to know that you've accomplished,
You've given birth to something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it never dies. And what you've written will last forever and ever. It's created in the universe, and that cannot be uncreated. It's like energy. It is energy.
It is.
And so it's beautiful. Yeah.
Well, Ceci, thank you so much for being a guest on my program.
Jay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I should have mentioned, thank you for editing my book, by the way. She's an amazing editor on top of everything else. She's been kind enough to provide some great suggestions. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Of course. Thank you for having me on. This was fun.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I want to thank Miami's community newspapers for hosting us in these lovely studios. I want to thank Emily back there for producing the program. And I want to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share this episode and all the others that we've had and are coming up. In the meantime, keep reading, keep writing, and stay curious, Miami.